Here I'm going to be showing the strategy pattern that I used in my program. I used the observer pattern for actually both of my enemy types. Of course, they do behave differently. So, as we can see, this UML diagram, the let's see, Space Rock Observer Add New, it uses main. So both observers here, both observer add news, they both use main. They both implement observer, as you can see here. The subject here uses observer. Input event owns an instance of event object. SR create event and enemy create event both own an object, and they both implement event object. So I'll go show that here quick. SR observer add new, enemy observer add new. They both use main right here because it needs to reference the canvas height as well as the width, and it also needs to add events to the player input event queue, which is part of the main function. Player input event queue right here. And what else? Okay, and they both implement observer, like so. Now let's go to the input event right here. Input event owns an event object right here as an event for doing things that the observer does. 1 second. Subject uses observer. Yes, like here. Use observer objects for attaching listeners and whatnot. The Space Rock create event and enemy create event. Let's see, they both use an object here called source. Yes, same thing here. And the Space Rock create event extends event object. Oh, yeah, this is actually... Oh, sorry, these two things, I think I misspoke earlier, but they actually are both event objects. They extend them like so. I may have said something else like they implement them. I'm not sure exactly, but anyway, they extend them. They're like children of it. So the way this works is we have observer here, event received. Whenever an event is received here, there's just input events with different different values here, like Space Rock create and enemy create. The event object here. And really these things are actually used in player input event queue, which is not listed in the UML because it's actually part of main. But that's where they're used, so I guess I'll go ahead and show it. Case SR create and enemy create. In those cases, if that happens, then this main dot add these objects with listeners occurs. So, for example, yeah, it just does all this stuff. Calls this constructor with these values that are passed to it, and adds them to the enemy object queue, or array list, I think actually is what it is. But I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. So, observer event received, yeah. Enemy observer add new. Oh yes, the main actually calls this, if I'm not mistaken. No, actually it doesn't. Sorry, I misspoke there. Yeah, these observers, they add event received. Yeah, whenever the event received here is called, depending on the object here that it's called for, it will determine all these values here, specify the event type, and then add them to the input event queue, which I showed earlier, which adds it to the game scene. and does that for both enemy and space rock. These create events sort of initializes it here. Yeah, prototypical event. Subject, these attach listener notify event, which are called in other areas of the program. So that's kind of a overview of how the observer works for both of these objects. Basically, receive gets notified here, notify event received, depending on the object, fills in information and adds it to the game scene. That's about it.